It is, I would like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. It is March the 29th at 7 o'clock. I'd like to take a quick roll call. Amy?
Here.
Peter? Paula?
Here.
Bill? Bill Ratunke? Aaron?
Here.
Kevin?
I'm here.
Zach?
Present.
And I know Bonnie, Rick, and Mike Fiore have notified me they will not be available tonight. So, and now one last check. Peter? All right, Jack?
All right, thanks, Steve. So I'll also convene the Monday, March 29th edition of the Norton Select Board meeting. Let the record show that 4 members of the board are present. Renee is running a bit late, but will join the meeting in progress.
Jack, come on.
Oh, Renee, wonderful. All right, so we are 5 strong. Thank you very much. Also joined by Town Manager, Mr. Units. Steve, if you don't mind, before we get into it, just wanted to read something that was shared with us earlier today. It's Vietnam War Veterans Day. So Estelle from the Veteran Service Office had shared the proclamation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So in honor of our veterans from that war, if you don't mind, can I read that in?
No, absolutely.
All right. So this is a proclamation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Whereas today we recognize the more than 3 million Americans who served in the Vietnam War and the nearly 58,000 men and women who died or lost during the war. And whereas throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life. And whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2021 to be Vietnam War Veterans Day and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. And that was signed by Charles Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, and Bill Gavin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. So thank you to all our veterans and their families from the Vietnam War. Appreciate your service. And take it away, Steve and Mike.
Thanks, Jack. Much appreciated. All right, Mike, I will let you take the meeting from here. One thing I'd like to do is any of our guest speakers tonight, if they would please identify themselves at the beginning when you go up for your presentation. Be much appreciated as we can, that'll help us with our minutes for later on.
Okay. First item on the agenda is a presentation on a tax increment financing proposal. And we have with us tonight Zia Hajiev, who will kick it off for the company proposing the TIF.
Great, thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here. I'm Zia Hajiev. I'm with Ernst & Young, EY, based out of Pittsburgh. So I'll let the rest of our team introduce themselves as well, and then we will present a brief deck with respect to the proposed project that we are working on.
And Zia, just one question, I apologize. Could you spell your first name and last name for minutes? Thank you.
Sure. My first name is Zia. That's Z-I-Y-A. And my last name is Hajiev. That's H-A-J-I-Y-E-V as in Victor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello to the town. My name is Jacob Williams with the Home Depot. I'll also be presenting with Zia.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jessica Craw. I'm a senior manager at Ernst & Young based out of Boston, helping support the project locally.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aubrey Houchins. I'm based out of the Cincinnati office, and I am also helping support this project along with Zia, Jess, and Jacob.
Hello, I'm Jeff O'Neill, the developer of Blue Star Business Park and the owner of the facility where Home Depot would be located.
Thank you, Jeff. If I may, I'll go ahead and share my screen with the presentation.
That's fine. And thank you.
All right, great. Hopefully you can see it. So we're here to talk to you about the proposed project, but wanted to give you a brief overview of the company. Company's Home Depot, as you are likely aware, they're a Fortune 100 company with over 400,000 employees in North America, and they have over 60 distribution centers currently in North America. They operate across all 50 states, as well as Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam. They also have operations in Canada, as well as Mexico. Currently, the company is in the midst of their strategic supply chain investment initiative. This is a multi-year North American supply chain expansion plan. The expected outcomes of this significant investment plan are direct to consumer and delivery options for both businesses and personal residences. Currently, the company is considering various distribution center concepts to allow for this significant expansion. In Northeast region is very important, and there's several proposed projects and distribution center concepts that are being considered in the Northeast region. I'll turn this over to Jacob Williams to talk more about the proposed project and how that project fits in within the company's overall supply chain initiative.
Great, thanks, Zia. As Zia mentioned, we are looking at a 100,000 square foot distribution facility to support same-day and next-day deliveries for the Southern Massachusetts, Rhode Island markets. This facility is, within the industry is called a final mile delivery center. The park we're targeting is Blue Star Business Park, as Jeff mentioned, who's on the call as well. At a very high level, the total cost of the project is around $11.4 million. The hard cost for construction, 8.7. Home Depot's tenant improvements to be constructed by Jeff and his team, 1.7. And Home Depot's investment for fixtures is around $1 million. From a scheduling standpoint, we are very hopeful to start construction as soon as possible, as weather and other approvals allow, with the hopes of being fully operational next spring, summer of 2022. Just a quick high-level overview of the Blue Star Business Park. Building 7 is the project that we are targeting. This is a high-level conceptual site plan of what we're proposing. You can see on the right are associate parking spaces, and on the, there's the associate parking spaces. A big component of this operation will be the use of the dock doors. So operationally, how this facility will work is 53-foot trailers will bring product inbound to the facility, and then there will be box trucks making local deliveries on a daily basis. So this facility will not be housing any inventory for more than a few hours. The goal is to be a final mile consolidation point to be more efficient and timely with our last mile deliveries. This is another rendering of the exterior of the facility, and then the interior in the bottom right. I think that's actually a picture of one of these buildings that we've built in the past. We do, as Zia mentioned, we are in the middle of a multi-year, multi-facility rollout. There will be stocked locations, and then there will be final mile delivery locations, and this will fit into the latter, a final mile delivery facility. At a high level, there are going to be 25 to 28 new full-time Home Depot positions created, average wage of $21 per hour. Those roles come with full benefits and total employee compensation. There will also be a third-party logistics company or a delivery agent who will be doing the majority, if not all of the deliveries for outbound customer delivery. And those will be anywhere from 70 to 80 delivery drivers. Each outbound delivery truck will have 2 delivery agents inside of the truck to ensure safe unloading of whatever is being delivered. And at a high level, we have estimated 200 construction jobs associated with the building.
Thank you, Jacob. We also wanted to highlight the tax impact of the proposed project. Currently, as you're likely aware, this is a vacant site, just vacant land. It generates about $17,000 annual real property tax revenue. With the proposed project and building going in, even with the consideration of the TIF tax abatement, we would project that the site would generate additional about $770,000 in additional real property taxes over a 10-year period, as well as personal property taxes associated with the equipment. There would also be excise tax on trucks. We haven't had the ability to or chance to calculate that tax, given that the trucks would be owned by a third party, but would expect that would be additional revenue to the town as well. And Jeff, I know when we talked last week, you also mentioned there would be development fees associated and permitting fees associated with the site and the building. If you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
I think looking at what we did on Building 5's permit fee, the building permit alone was in excess, I believe, about $260,000. So Building 4 was shy of that, probably, I think it was about 180 to 200. And this individual facility would be ready to go for a building permit, would increase an additional $160,000, and that could be early as June of this year, when we're citing plans to be completed to get to the part of pulling that building permit.
In addition to the revenue, we would also anticipate that there would be some of the local truck storage and maintenance. As I mentioned, the trucks would be owned by a third-party logistics company, but they would be likely maintained and stored locally. There would be local hotel usage for travel associated with this facility. Obviously, local restaurant and food service usage by the employees and for employees at the facility, as well as some of the building maintenance costs and expenses. We would anticipate local landscaping, snow plowing, and janitorial services coming from the local labor market.
See, can I also just, part of Norton Commerce Center, when we developed both the Penske and Ryder facility across the highway, those are 2 of the service facilities that would be providing the maintenance and additional work to the vehicles that are servicing Home Depot here. So a lot of the synergies are already in Norton, which only benefits them as well, and the growth of Penske and Ryder.
Thank you, Joe. So before we move to the next slide, I wanted to turn it over to Jacob and talk about some of the community partnership. Home Depot is a great community partner, and they have very good initiatives and that they put in place in the communities that they operate. So Jacob, if you could talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
You bet. Yeah, this is a fun slide, and a slide that I'm happy to share with the team here. Home Depot is a value-based organization. One of our values that is implemented and that we use as some of our guiding principles is giving back. And Home Depot has truly lived up to that value. Over the years, Home Depot has recommitted ourselves to focusing our company's foundation, supporting U.S. veterans, and also to train skilled tradespeople as we are looking to fill the labor gap to support the home improvement and construction communities. In 2011, Home Depot committed $350 million to veteran causes. And by 2025, Home Depot will contribute $500 million to veteran causes. So pretty remarkable commitment. There's also local initiatives that go on at different facilities throughout the country to support veteran affairs, including rebuilding veterans' homes and assisting in improvements that may be required. And then down at the bottom, the additional $50 million to train skilled work skills for the construction and home improvement industry as well. So at a very high level, different facilities have the opportunity to do annual and quarterly local improvement initiatives that the company 100% supports, and ensure that our associates are living up to our values as previously mentioned.
Thank you, Jacob. And in conclusion, we wanted to really, again, highlight and express our gratitude to the town for considering the proposed project for the TIF tax abatement. Incentives are very important for these projects as they go in front of the internal company board for evaluation, which projects would move forward. So the ability and availability of incentives is considered. And for this project, we've incorporated the potential savings and operating cost reductions associated with the TIF into the analysis. So we're really hoping the town would support it and support the company coming into the community. And that concludes our presentation. I can keep the presentation up in the event there are any questions for the team.
Yep, and thank you guys very much. So does anyone on the Finance Committee have questions for this project at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple.
Zach, go ahead.
Gentlemen, thank you for the presentation. First question is, what is the term of the lease that you are signing with Blue Star?
It's a 10-year lease commitment.
So 10-year, so you're asking for a 10-year TIF and you're looking for a 10-year 10-year TIF and 10-year lease.
Yes, and in that agreement, there are 2 5-year renewal options as well.
Okay, and I know you mentioned you would like to have your subcontractor who's doing the last mile delivery register the trucks in Norton. I'm not sure if that could be added into the agreement so the town can benefit from the excise tax. I know subcontractors, could be based someplace else.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's something we can definitely follow up on. I will say that the trucks will be dedicated to this facility. They're not going to be servicing other Home Depot facilities. They will be stored on site and loaded up first thing in the morning, stored overnight, and delivered throughout the day. So these vehicles will reside at the property.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks, Zach. Any other questions? Sorry, and who was that?
Bill.
Go ahead.
Yeah, is this 7 days a week, 5 days a week, 24 hours a day? What are the operations?
It's going to be a demand-driven scenario, but we are hopeful that it will be a 7-day-a-week operation if demand dictates. But the buildings will not be. We don't have any to date that are operational 24 hours. These are customer deliveries. So generally, customers don't take delivery late into the evenings or anywhere before 8 a.m. So the outbound delivery and operational component of these facilities will be very early in the morning. Probably some long outbound trips will start 5:30, 6 in the morning, and most of the vehicles will be back on site by 7 o'clock at night.
Okay, and I forget the number, it was in the 20s of new hires. Is that from, the day you've opened, or does that ramp up over time?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, again, based on demand and what that sees. But Zia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a year one number.
Yeah, so this will likely be year one plus 24-month kind of a window, 12 to 24-month window.
Okay, and does this TIF agreement require any minimum? You need to keep 25 or 28, or it doesn't? What's the test to make sure that you're living up to your end of the bargain?
So that's a great question, Bill. We would be working out the TIF agreement, and my expectation would be that the town would have a job creation number, requirement number in the agreement, and certainly we would look to meet that requirement as part of the project.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Michael, go ahead.
And any TIF agreement that has employment numbers in it, they're reviewed by the state every year. A filing has to be submitted to the state, and if someone doesn't meet their employment numbers, the state would decertify the TIF. And I just wanted to mention, I did speak with our veterans agent after the last presentation, and she was very impressed with what Home Depot does for veterans and other communities that she knows that have Home Depots. And she is looking forward to the support. I want to thank Home Depot for that.
Yeah, Michael, I'm happy to put the woman you mentioned in contact with our Home Depot Foundation to ensure, partnership kicks off early on in the relationship.
Thank you.
And Mike, just to clarify, this presentation was in front of the EDC, was it last week?
It was.
And go ahead, sorry.
The EDC unanimously recommended the TIF.
And so that was gonna be my question. Do you know from that committee if this is, I assume with the approval it is, but is this fitting a gap that we have identified within the town, and does it fit to the plan that they have in mind for businesses in Norton?
I wouldn't want to speak for them on that. I don't know if anyone.
Mike,
go ahead.
I can answer that question as the chair. So I think it's a great question. I mean, from a perspective of the types of companies, we aren't looking for types of companies, but we've obviously had conversations focusing around what can we do to support companies coming in specifically at the business park where there's space. Oftentimes we have companies who are interested, but we don't have the buildings or the location. So we actually heard this twice. We heard the same presentation last week, and then Mike had come to us the meeting previous to that just to review the initial TIF structure and have discussion on it.
Okay, thank you. Jack, I'm not sure if your committee has any questions or your board has any questions.
Yeah, let's open it up. Anybody on the select board? I know two of you have already seen this.
I have no questions, just a comment that to have a company as solid as Home Depot, they got to be doing good because I spend so much money there. So it'd be nice to have some of that money staying in town.
Thank you for the patronage.
I just bought a front door, so if it would be delivered from a distribution center close by, I'd appreciate it since it might not get here in time.
Yeah, that, just to be totally honest, this will dramatically enhance customer delivery from the Home Depot to the local residents. This will, the goal holistically as a company is to be able to hit next day service to 90% of the US population.
Steve, this is Bill again.
Go ahead, Bill.
So one more question. I think you said you guys are doing like 60 of these across the country or something to that effect. So how big is the like the geographic market for this facility?
Yeah, that's a great question. It will cover southern Massachusetts down into cover the Providence market as well.
So you could have multiple of these in like Massachusetts alone.
Yeah. Yes. That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from SelectBoard?
Jack, I don't have a question, but just wanted to add, and Jacob could certainly quantify this, but as part of the discussion last week, one of the things that we talked about was, how many, when they were looking to do this, how many sites that they were looking at, and really at what point in the process they were for Norton. And it was somewhat, I don't want to say comforting because it doesn't sound like the right thing, but, Jacob had indicated that they're looking at, that they're planning to look at 10 sites. Total, we're third on the list or they have 3 of 10 done now, and they're looking to, execute within the next 60 and 90 days. And again, kind of back to Steve's earlier question, it's from a perspective of the EDC, and you think about the town and whether or not this is a good opportunity for the town. It's a business that certainly, we see is sustainable. I think they have good commitments to the community, but the other thing is the impact overall. Like we often talk about traffic and what are some of the other impacts that we have. And I'm sorry, I just realized I'm not on video. And with their schedule, while they'll be operating around the clock, having a schedule where they're looking at 2 primary delivery cycles certainly helps us understand better what that traffic impact will be and at what times. So I think, from my perspective on the board, I think it's a good opportunity for the town and a potential great partnership with Home Depot.
Thanks, Renee. And I think that's nice to have a good business partner in town. I think somebody with the reputation of a Home Depot and all the things that they've done, reaching out to veterans and just our townsfolk will be a good working partnership. So thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Michael?
I can share the TIF proposal. And I will say that at the EDC, we were fortunate to have the local representative from the Mass Office of Business Development present, and he did express the support and moving that forward through the state once we get to that stage.
So Mike, yeah, on this, could you just go through, I think most of it's self-explanatory, but one high-level question is, I thought on the presentation, I saw the assessed value was 11.4. Does that change? Obviously, it changes some of them, but does that change any assumptions on this?
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, the 11.4 included $1 million approximately personal property equipment.
Okay.
So the 10.4 is without it.
Okay, thank you.
So in this TIF, you can see that over the life of the TIF, the estimated TIF savings to the company, $784,123, and the incremental tax payment to the town over the life, $768,597. So if you look, by year 5 of this TIF, the town is receiving more tax dollars than the benefit to the company. It starts at 80% and goes to 75, 65, 55. Then we go to 45 for 3 years, then 35 for 2, and then 25 for 1. And so at the end, you can see on the base plus the new taxes to the town, $943,027 over the life.
Okay. Does anyone on the finance committee have questions regarding Mike's schedule or need any clarification on the numbers being
Chairman, I
used?
have a question.
Okay.
Would year 1 be the year that construction is complete, so next summer, or would it be immediately when construction begins?
Our year 1 would be once an occupancy permit is issued.
Okay, thank you.
And to reiterate Mike's point from earlier, so the terms of this TIF will be recorded with the Commonwealth of Mass to make sure that the terms are being abided by, or is it just regarding the personnel?
No, it would be, they'll review the whole TIF. It has to be approved by the State Business Council. And whatever terms we put in there as far as TIF or vehicle, employees or number of vehicles, and the projected cost of the building, all that's in there and reviewed by the state.
Okay. Does anyone on the finance committee have questions regarding this schedule? Okay, hearing none. Jack?
Yep, anybody on the select board with the TIF or back to the presentation? So I think for my part, hold on, my children are yelling at each other. Oh, they dropped an F-bomb on that one. I'm glad I muted myself. Jeez. Okay, that said, I think the presentation is great. I'm really excited about this opportunity to partner with Home Depot in town. One thing I would just like to highlight, and it's fresh on, I think, our board's mind after a recent issue in another residential area, is the interplay between truck traffic and residential zones. Realize that's more for the planning board to decide, but I just want to highlight that now. A lot of, I don't want to say promises, but commitments were made to the residents in the Leonard Street area about the direction of truck traffic being primarily through 495. That was when it was primarily 18-wheelers. Now with these smaller box trucks that'll be going through, I can imagine, especially if deliveries warrant it, there's going to be an inclination to go into the residential areas. So I just like to make sure that you guys are aware that we're really sensitive to that. We've had some issues with another vendor in town. So don't be surprised when that comes up at the planning board and amongst the residents in town as this goes forward. But yeah, this is great. I'm very excited, and thank you for considering Norton.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
No, it's great, and I'll reiterate the same thing. And hopefully, when the positions are there to be filled, our Norton residents have preference into filling those vacancies if possible. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mike, do we need a vote?
Yes,
All right.
if you're comfortable voting
So
tonight.
Mike, let me just do the finance committee members feel like they have enough information to vote on this TIF tonight?
Mr. Chairman,
Zach?
I just would like to see, the terms of regards to, we talked about trucking, if that could be put into there. And the employees, I haven't seen the detail page of the terms other than the amounts of the TIF agreement.
So Mike, is it possible then to put this vote off until next meeting? The next meeting of the Finance Committee?
Yeah, you can put this off until we draft those terms, sure.
Okay, perfect. I think that's what we'll do it. I don't think.
And I'll let you know when we have that done.
Okay, thank you.
And Mike confirmed this is an article now on our annual town meeting warrant.
That is good. I'm trying to remember if we may have moved this to the special.
I thought this was the special.
Yeah,
Well, either way, we'll be hearing it on May 8th.
on May 8th, yep.
Look, another big discussion item.
So is this something that our board would be comfortable voting on tonight? Would you like to wait and see the terms? I know 2 of you on the EDC have already voted to support it. Brad, Meg, how do you feel?
I have no problem supporting it right now.
I'm fine, I just.
I'm gonna vote.
I'm fine, I just, again, if the finance committee is reviewing it, then maybe we should just see it with all the terms put in, like, I'm not sure why we have to vote right this second if they're waiting, but.
Well, we do still vote on the warrant language too, and the warrant language will be the final term. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, we can always, if something comes up in the agreement, we can always reconsider. But I think for now, I would entertain a motion to support the TIF agreement as described tonight.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. All right. Thank you, guys. Great presentation. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the consideration.
Thank you so much. Be
And
safe.
Peter, love the enthusiasm to start the calls.
Yeah, that's right, Jacob. That's right, Jacob.
Thank you.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you for considering the button.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Thank
considering
you.
adopting.
All right, Mike, if you're ready to,
Yep, next is a presentation. There's a petition article on the warrant. And this petition article is from Lucille Drain about a parcel of land on East Main and White Ave. And I'm not sure if Attorney Sousa will be kicking off this presentation.
Matt Drain here, I can speak to this.
Okay.
With your permission, I'll just set up the PowerPoint slides that were sent to the board.
go ahead, man.
So my name is Matthew Drain of Northwest Washington Street, and I'm representing my mother, Lucille Drain, who is the owner of the parcel land that we're talking about. I, along with my parents, are longtime residents of Norton. Regarding the parcel land in question, basically we're seeking a correction to what we believe is a Scrivener's error regarding the zoning of this land. As you'll see in the upcoming zoning maps, which I'll show, this approximately 3/4 acre parcel of land, along with all the land on the western side of Route 123, was designated commercial in 1978 when it was purchased. And it was unclear in some zoning and several maps in the intervening years, and it's marked residential today. In spite of everything except this triangular piece of land on the western side of 123 remain commercially zoned. However, we can't find any town meeting minutes or warrants ever changing this. My parents never recall being notified about any zoning changes in the years between. So let me just bring up the maps.
Chairman, I'm not seeing anything here. Am I alone in that?
No, and I agree. There's nothing to speak.
Thank you.
Go.
There we go.
Here's the map. So what we're looking at here is the zoning map from 1978. And as you can see, if I zoom in on this second slide, it shows commercial land in the triangular section, just to the right of what is now Red Mill Village, which is also zoned commercially. So all this land to the western side of 123 was zoned commercially. In 1983, as you can see here, things are a little bit unclear. It is indicated as both residential and commercial. In 1987, John Vance, who is, some of you probably know him, he's a registered professional engineer and long time person who had done a lot of planning and maps in the past. He laid out some of this land and marked it. And as you can see in the lower left corner, I'm not sure if it's coming through, it was clearly, it says point number 4 down in the lower left corner, zoning district is commercial. And this particular map was received by the town back in 1987. You can see the stamp in the upper right corner there that was on the back of this particular diagram. In 1988, again, it's not super clear as to what it is. Commercial, it's both listed as commercial and residential based on the legend. And then by 1999, you can see here that it's simply listed as residential here. The hash marks are gone. And then here is again another map showing it today. So in summary, my dad, John Drain, known as Jack Drain to many of you in town, he believed this to be commercially zoned land. And although he never had a chance to develop it, I recall him many times in my youth and since that he had thoughts about doing something commercially with this land. So we believe it was just a simple map notation error that led to this zoning discrepancy, and we're simply looking to get this corrected. So happy to entertain any questions if you have any.
Yeah, so Matt, not being so familiar with this section of town, if you could describe it, I know this is right around where Bernie and Phil's is. Can you give us kind of just a general, it looks like is it just that small parcel in the middle or is it on both sides?
It is. It's the triangular piece of land. There's actually two different parcels there. The larger parcel is owned by Lucille Drain now. And there is a smaller section right at the point that's owned by someone else, Janine Camarda. And basically it's between Newland and 123 and White Street. And it is on the 495 side of Bernie and Phil's. It's right there at Newland.
Okay. And just overall, has the planning board seen this yet, or have they discussed this yet, Mike Units?
Where are you in the planning board process, Matt?
We did present it to the planning board at their last meeting.
And so the request here is currently it's considered residential AD, and the thought is there's nothing that can be found anywhere that changed it from commercial to this R80. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't find, we've gone through, we had someone look through all of the meeting minutes and warrants all the way from 1978 all the way up to present day. And there's no, we couldn't find any mention that this was, came up as a, an article or anything like that to be zoned for a zoning change. My parents also don't recall ever being notified about it either, either as, a possible zoning change or as approved. So if you look at all the maps, it really looks like it clearly started out as commercial, along with all of the land next to it on that side of 123. And then because it's a small parcel of land, in the intervening years, it looks like it was sort of marked both ways, and then it was just dropped from commercial in that most recent one. I believe you have copies of these, and all of these maps are from the town, with the exception of the one that's up on the screen right now, which the town also should have a copy of this, but all the other maps are copies of what the town has.
Okay. And it's what does that say 35,000 square feet? Is that the total
Yeah,
cost?
it's just a little over, I mean, the whole thing is less than an acre.
Okay.
Like the piece that's Lucille's property is the 33,000.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions for Matt regarding this article or these maps?
Mr. Chairman?
Zach?
I guess I don't know if I have a question for Matt. I think I have a question for Mike more than anything. If there's no proof that this was ever changed and there's no documentation, why is the town, are we putting this gentleman through this instead of just handling it internally and correcting it? Why does he have to go through all this when there's no proof or documentation that it was ever changed?
That's an issue that is being reviewed now in the planning board.
I just think we're just being unfair to him. If we can't prove we changed it, it should be an internal matter, not having to go through the, through the rigmarole of town meeting, planning board, and all this other stuff, because we made a mistake. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and I'd like to reiterate the same thing as we go through. I'm not sure how these maps, they're so vital, how they get changed the way they get changed, and then we put our townsfolk into this position where we have to present and fight and get article changes or planning bylaw changes. So I agree with the same thing. And thank you, Matt, for pushing this and your patience on this. But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the Finance Committee? Hearing none, Jack?
Yeah, open up to Select Board.
If I could just comment on the site. I'm familiar with the site. The site would be useless for residential, in my opinion, because it's totally it's an island surrounded by streets. It would be a perfect place for a small convenience store or something like that. And I think it ties in more closely to the abutting property across Newland Street, which is the Bernie and Phil's parcel. And to me, it would be like a great place to put, like I said, a convenience store or something like that. It makes more sense than keeping this residential. So I can't see where there is any value residentially, but commercially it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it most likely would be a small office building or something along those lines, just because it's not a large parcel of land, but we believe too, it makes more sense as commercial land.
I mean, to me, it'd be tough to get a residential leaching field and septic system on the property.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else on the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Michael.
Just kind of agree completely with Brad. I live in this area. I know that lot. It really should be commercial. I hope this actually is taken away from us on this decision. I hope it's a fixed thing with the planning board, but I do have one question. Do you know the other property owner on this the shared lot? Has there been any conversations with them or any intentions or none at all?
I can speak to that if you'd like. They are supportive of it. My understanding is that they are supportive of it being of the zoning correction. So they're not a resident of Norton. They may be on this call. I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, just to finish up, my questions answered. I would support this. I think this is to Brad's point, this is really probably a cookie cutter commercial piece of land. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Jack, it's Renee. I'll just add, I have to agree with what Zach said and Steve said earlier. It's unfortunate that the family has had to go through this petition process because, we had a very similar situation when the EDC was doing the marijuana overlay district as well, where we had an area that was improperly designated, and Paul and Mike did a lot of research to determine whether or not it was an error on the town side. It seems like that research is done, so I hope and encourage Mike to see if we can settle this without having to further engage the planning board or us or the town meeting and address it as the error that it appears to be.
Thank you, Renee.
And Mike Hughes, with that said, what is the process? So this is now an article, and it can be withdrawn, or we can vote no action if we look at this and it's corrected, besides bringing it to the town folks. Is that correct?
Either one of those, yes.
Okay. All right, and I just want to reiterate again that what everyone else has said. I really hope we can go through and just identify a mistake was here and fix it, so these people don't have to keep going through this.
I thank you for that. If it does need to still go to town meeting, we would like to see if we can amend the way it's written to just point out that it is an error, a Scrivener's error that was put in a letter there to the town. That was not originally included in the article as it was originally submitted. But if it does need to still go to town meeting, we'd appreciate it if we could make that amendment. If it can be resolved otherwise, then that becomes a moot point. So,
if I'm not mistaken, doesn't, Mr. Chair, wouldn't that have to be an amendment from the floor at this point?
I'll reach out to council because we cannot change any language in a petition article. So I'll reach out to council to see if the petitioner can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mike, just in terms of kind of going further down Steve's line of questioning, what's the timeline for a resolution via Paul and the planning board versus needing to commit to town meeting? So I know there's already signs up, there's people who have asked questions on it. So I just want to make sure that we're able to notify everybody and make sure that folks are aware of what's going on. And I say that fully agreeing that this to my sensibilities appears to be an error as described and should be rectified without needing to go to town meeting.
I'd have to talk to town council on that and the planning director to see if there's a possibility to do that.
I did see a question in the chat from Oren, if the public can comment. Steve, if you're cool with that, I think if there's no other questions from either of our boards, we can, again, for that, you are?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
All right, Oren, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Is it possible for me to screen share with you guys
Yeah, and Orin, if you wouldn't mind just identifying yourself.
I'm sorry. My name is Orin Siegel. I live at 28 Conning Road. Speaking on my own behalf, I'm not as a member of any board.
Thank you.
Is it, I guess I still have the applicant's screen up. Is there different?
I think you can, if you just start sharing, I think it'll stop my sharing.
Okay, just to give you a reference on when I asked the question, this area here is Red Mill Village. This is 495. This is the triangle we're talking about. To the right here, down here is.
Can I just stop you for 1 second? I'm sorry to interrupt, just an inquiry. There's a screen on there that just needs to be accepted. Oh, I apologize. We're good.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
This is the triangle parcel that we're talking about. This area over here is Bernie and Phil's. This parcel is basically residential 80. And just note along here, these are all residential, and they're all small, relatively like acre, half acre lots. Acre lots mostly, by way of perspective. This is the parcel in question. It's broken up into two parcels, one 33,000 square feet, the other about 4,700. Again, these are the residential structures along here. And as you know, Red Mill Village, though zoned commercial, for a special permit is now completely residential. Just so you're aware of it, I believe that smaller parcel has a utility easement, 20 by 20 utility easement, that really cuts it almost in half. This is an overview of that property. Basically, I'd like to point out, as it stands now, I believe this is state 123 is a state road, and they have a dedicated left-hand turn lane that runs the entire length of the area that fronts 128, with the left-hand turn going into Newland Street. This is White Street, which, as you will note, the houses, way of design in Red Mill Village, these houses actually front the street and are somewhere like 35 feet off of the street line. We've talked about traffic before. As part of the Condyne development, there was a final environmental impact report that was done. And in that report, there's a good deal of data that was done. And one of the intersections that was studied was Newland Street. And basically, what they determined, the existing situation on Newland Street, this was taken in 2017-18. The average delay was about 98.8. When you compare that with what the build was, that was after they assumed building the Condyne development fully out, it would increase by almost 100 seconds. These two, this was just a projection, no build versus build. This was in 2024, which is when they do a study, they take it 5 years out. The difference was about 60 seconds or another minute. So here we're talking about a 3-minute delay at an intersection, which is basically a non-signalized intersection. In a non-signalized intersection, anything over 50 seconds is considered failing. We're looking at something that's almost 4 times the failing rate after you build out for Condyne. I'd also note, we're talking about a TIF for further development in Condyne. And I believe just that project alone, I think they had 44 parking spaces designated for that building. Even though they're cutting down in size, the traffic that they're projecting now is over 100, which increases that. In addition to that, the town is now considering changing rezoning another property, industrial, along the same corridor. So these numbers were just based on Condyne. If you're considering adding another, I'm not sure how many acres it is, a whole slot of land adjacent to 495, you're going to increase this by significantly.
So Orin, this doesn't exactly seem like a question. It's more of a presentation, which, while valid, I don't necessarily think is in the spirit of what's being discussed tonight. This seems more of a planning board question if and when it gets to that area. By all accounts, there seems to be a scribing error on the zoning maps and not something that is being intentionally sought to develop. It's just correcting an error. I would also say that the Condyne development is getting signals. They're up there now, so I think that number will change. If there is a specific question that you'd like to ask or a wrapping statement, I think please feel free.
Well, two things. Those numbers were based upon fully signalized sections, both of 485 and Condyne. I would point out, there was a presentation at the planning board, and for the first time, that information was put forth before the board. It had not been reviewed by the planning board at all, nor by the director. At that time, they presented a binder of information that the clerk, the town clerk supposedly had put together at the request of the applicant. Nobody has seen those. I'm not questioning the validity of what they saw. However, there's a big gap from 1999 until the present. And during that time alone, this was based on the zoning map of 1999. The zoning map has been revised, at least from here on to 6-7 times, including which there was a rezoning that included switching to a R20, R40, R60, R80, which basically designated new residential areas. And I can't imagine that when they did that, they didn't clearly identify those areas that were specific for residential. And at that point, I don't know that it's not been noticed either specifically, and again, when you do that kind of zoning change, it's for the whole town, that you would have to necessarily get specific notice in terms of what they were doing. I'd also point out that from 2004 on, Red Mill Village was being developed. And they were being developed based on a map provided by the town that clearly showed that parcel to be residential. One final thing is you should be aware of. It is in a zone 2. So basically, under zone 2, any residential as well as non-residential has to be at 80,000 square feet. So I'm just looking, if you're looking at, fine, you can look at whether there's an error. I'm suggesting that there's not really been the opportunity to review whether or not that error existed, or whether from 1999 till to date, it's been corrected by a town meeting approving a zoning map. So that map has been reviewed and approved, I think it was at least 6 to 7 times since 1999. And so you've got some reliance upon people living around it. So to really just say, well, we think there was an error, someone said they didn't get notice, let's change it, I think is kind of premature. We've asked at the time at the planning board, the public has asked for them to submit, they had a binder of what they claimed the town clerk had put together. Nobody has seen that. We asked them to present that so we could see it. To my knowledge, that hasn't been presented yet. So I would just caution the board before jumping at this question of there's really been an error and that's a simple solution, a simple decision. I suggest it's not that simple. I think there's more investigation that needs to be made as to specifically what had happened, what action the town did take or didn't take before putting that aside.
And thank you for your input on that. I think that'll be part of the planning board's review, as well as legal counsel with Mike to determine those next steps. I'm not sure if that's for this committee at this point. Thank you very much.
I agree with that, Steve. It sounds like the Drains are pursuing both avenues. One, the town meeting, securing approval from residents through the formal channels to rezone, as well as seeking clarification on the potential issue. It's not something that we have the ability, or dare I say, the desire to decide tonight. I agree, let's do the work, but based on what Mr. Drain showed tonight, it seems to me that there was an error made, and I look forward to seeing the results of that investigation. So thank you very much for sharing your point of view, Warren.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think, is there any other questions that pertain to, on this article, the parcel of land at this point? I think we've kind of addressed what we need to address. I think we've pushed it to planning board to do a proper review. So I don't think there's much left for this meeting to discuss, but if people have questions pertaining to the point in fact here, feel free to ask. Okay, hearing none. Thank you all very much for your time and effort into this, and hopefully we can resolve for all parties involved.
Well said, Steve.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, Mike. Trying to pull up the agenda now. So it looks like we have a conversation on chapter 90.
Yeah, just if we want to move forward in which this is always Article 2 on the warrant, to accept any funds that we receive from the state in the Chapter 90 program for expenditure on road repairs.
So that's what, so high level, Mike, this is really for road repairs. We get funds from the state for road repairs.
Correct.
Okay.
And this article is to accept any of the funding that we do receive from the state for that.
And there's no dollar amount, it's just really it's an article you have to really move and accept, correct?
Correct. I know last year we received $556,641, and I anticipate it will be similar this year.
Okay. And there's no dollar amount that's on this article, correct? I'm trying to pull up.
That's right. No, it's just to approve the expenditure of the funds that we receive.
Okay. So are we looking to vote on this tonight, or?
I would. Yeah, that would be my request. Yes.
Okay. But if we're going to vote on it tonight, I don't see anything in writing that we would move this article right now, or is there a draft of what the wording would be for our recommendation?
Well, on the agenda, it's to discuss in our vote town meeting and our operating budget requests. So it's just the standard Article 2 to accept any funds that we received on Chapter 90.
Mike, do we have the article list? Was that sent and I'm just not finding it?
No, I don't see it either in there. That's what.
The article list was sent to the Board of Selectmen, I know.
We have the score sheet. We don't have a draft copy of the warrant.
Right. So Mike, what I'd like to do is, if possible, I'd like to put off voting on this till we have the actual draft, so we can see it and vote on that article, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, and we could probably vote on this next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next item is to vote to approve the capital plan that you reviewed last week.
Right. And let me just throw it here. So Jack, I don't know if you wanted to conclude if you want to listen in on the Finance Committee votes here, but from what I can see, you're more than welcome to stay on, but from what I can see from the next few agenda items here, it's really going to be voting on the budgets, or it's going to be voting on the budgets or the various committees like capital I see here. So it's going to be voting on all the budgets that we have tonight. There's 4 or 5 of them here.
All right. For my part, I'd like to stay on. So if we have a quorum, we'll stay with Renee, Michael, Meg, Brad. Do you want to?
I thought the purpose was for us to vote at the same time so we can close these out. Hear them once so we don't have to do it again.
That is what I thought the plan was, so thank you.
That was my impression as well.
All right, so we're in it for the long haul, Steve. You can't get rid of us.
All right, not Not a problem. I didn't know you wanted to partake in our fun adventure of our fiduciary duty to the town, but that's, you're more than welcome.
Teamwork makes the dream work, Steve.
Is that something we said, Steve?
Give him
Michael,
another
always
couple
something
minutes
you
and
say.
give Jack another couple minutes, he'll throw out another bad line.
That is factual, yes.
Sorry, Mike, units go right ahead now.
All right, so you reviewed the capital plan last week, and so the recommendation is to approve the capital plan with $656,818 coming from capital, $69,129 from the ambulance reserve fund, borrowing $725,000, $357,000 from sewer surplus, and $33,000 from water surplus retained earnings, and $350,000 transferred from other articles.
So Mike, we have, when we vote on this article, we have to specify each of those items, correct? One is the total request and then two, the funding mechanism?
Right. I would vote on the total funding request of $2,190,947, and then where each source is.
Okay, so just to clarify here, I'm seeing two different items. Just clarify for me. I see the town manager recommendation.
I'm sorry, I forgot to change. Yep.
Okay, so
$2,233,947 with $400,000 from source surplus, I'm sorry.
So, Mike, if I can interject, I believe that your recommendation was the one that matched up with Frank's presentation, right? I thought the
correct. Yep.
And the 50,000.
You're right. Yep. And I did, as I said, I individually talked with each capital committee member, and they agreed with the town manager recommendation. What it was is Frank lowered his amount on the substation on Norwood from 100,000 to 57,000. So that's why it's the lower amount. So the town manager's column is what you'd be voting.
okay. All right, does anyone on the finance committee have any questions at this point regarding the capital budget? We heard the presentation last week on there, so I'm just looking right now at the recommendation. You recommend this, we'll use the town manager's column. But Mike, this schedule will be updated where the capital improvement committee will reflect.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the finance committee members have any questions pertaining to this capital budget at this point? I guess, Jack, if you want to ask your group the same thing, or we can.
We good on our end, guys? I think we talked about this at length at one of our prior meetings, so.
Yeah.
And we can go first and get that out of the way. So, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the proposed FY22 capital budget with a total of $2,190,947 to be drawn from the list as shown, because I can't read all that.
So moved. A second then.
All right. Meg?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. All right.
So, Michael, one quick question, I guess, for order here on this, for the minutes. Is this going to be two separate minutes for the Finance Committee and then for the Select Board? So will Pat only be drafting minutes up per our voting, or will include all?
I would think she'd include all, but that's up to you. We will have selectmen minutes also, but we also draft minutes whenever the selectmen are at the meeting.
Okay. All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve the capital budget. I'm going to say as written, but I think for our purposes, we need to, one, specify the total amount, and then two, the funding protocol here for each of these line items and specify the dollar amount. So I will entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy,
I move that we recommend Article 8, the capital budget for the 2022 fiscal year in the amount of $2,190,947, coming from the following funding sources. From the Ambulance Reserve Fund, $69,129, borrowing, $725,000, sewer surplus, $357,000, water surplus, $33,000, and other transfer funds, $350,000.
okay, motion to approve the capital budget committee in the amount of.
Did Amy mention, and from capital, 656,000?
Oh, I did not, sorry. And from capital, I thought that was just the total. Sorry, $656,818. I thought I did so good, Mike.
I thought you did too.
So we have a motion to approve the capital budget in the amount of $2,190,947 from the funding sources of the total capital, $656,818 from total ambulance reserve fund, $69,129, total borrowing of $725,000, $357,000 from water surplus.
Sewer surplus.
Sewer surplus, $33,000 from water surplus, and $350,000 from other transfers. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, can you identify who that second was? Sorry.
Aaron.
Aaron, thank you. I have a motion and a second on the capital budget as listed here. Any other conversation or discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Bill, Bill Rotundi. Okay,
He's on mute, but he's
saw your
giving a thumbs up.
I saw your thumbs up. All right, Aaron,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. That's unanimous. Okay.
The next item is to capital appropriation, which would be Article 7. And I'm recommending that $600,000 from free cash be appropriated to the capital fund.
All right, so is that something that we should vote on?
My only statement here, Mike, is, again, we don't have the article to review here, or do we? I don't see it in our, okay.
You want to wait on that?
I think we should. I don't see the article at all.
Okay.
Do we have the article, Mike? I'm looking through the attachments, but
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
And my only concern is, in the past, we've run into where article numbers don't align, and I don't, like we just did on this one, we voted Article 8. And if for some reason it doesn't match up.
Well, we know Article 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. will not change because they're all standard articles that we have every year. Sometimes some of the later articles, the numbers change because articles get removed.
I'm not a skeptic, but Mike, I'm a skeptic, so I'd rather see it in front.
The last version that we have is the draft dated 2/18.
So what I'd like to do, Mike, I'd like to hold off on voting right now until we have actually the articles in front of us that we can see, review, and vote on as written.
All right.
Thank you.
And if the select board is on board with that, I'd like to follow suit, just so we can make sure we fully read and comprehend what we're voting on.
Agreed.
Great.
Super fantastic. And Mike, just for while we're on the topic of free cash, what's the balance in that account right now?
The balance in free cash is $1,926,248.
So
Can you say that one more time, Mike?
Yep. $1,926,248.
Thank you.
So 600 to come from that to capital if approved would leave 1.3. And I'm assuming we'll be doing our normal, quote unquote, normal supplemental funding of the operating budget with about 600 or 700K.
Usually, if we did anything like that, that's in the fall.
Fall.
If we have any supplements in May, it's usually smaller than that.
Okay. Good to know.
We will be, right now, snow and ice, we'd be using 82,000 from that for snow and ice.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike.
So next is to vote on the fixed and shared budgets. And the fixed and shared budgets are the maturing debt, $1,946,319. That's item budget number 711.
Okay. So here for the finance committee, and Jack, I'll turn it over to you for your group first, but here for the finance committee, what I'd like to do is to save some time and effort for Pat, is if we could have one person make the motion and that another person, but continue to be the same, is make the second if they agree. So that way Pat won't have to keep changing our minutes and trying to figure out who said what. If that's okay and acceptable to everybody, if we could use that protocol, it'd be great. Well, one of the things we'll do is we'll go right down each budget here so we can see this schedule, say the department, 711 in this case, and then the bottom line recommendation. Okay.
Amy, want to keep it rolling?
Yeah, I'll keep it rolling. You want a second, Aaron?
Yep, sounds good.
All
Thank
right,
you, guys.
got you covered, Steve.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Aaron.
And Mr. Chairman, did you want me to go through the whole list and then come back and vote them? Or?
Yeah, I think that'd be right. I think that'd be fine, Mike.
Okay. And the second budget is interest, 750, and the amount is $520,028. Next is employee benefits, 910, $12,053,832. Next is unemployment, 911, 90,000. And then miscellaneous, 940, $875,903.
Thank you. So Jack, I'll let you and your board kind of discuss this if you'd like to, and then we'll go with our vote.
Yeah, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we voted individually. We just kind of talk on the increases and ask questions. Whereas FinCom would vote for each individual line. Do we still want to follow that model this year, or do we want to go line by line as well? Open to mixing things up.
I'm fine doing whatever's covered under the article, doing it by article, not by line.
Yep.
Yeah, I think FinCom, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, would vote the totals.
Correct. The total for each department or each budget number.
Personally, I wouldn't want to vote on anything until I see all the recommendations through. So if maybe we can just ask questions as we jump along here. So any questions on the select board side for this page?
None.
So, and Mike, I did ask for the Excel file to be shared out so that we can more easily calculate percentages and changes. If you could just ask either James or Michelle to flip that out early tomorrow morning, that would be very helpful.
Sure.
So Jack, just to clarify that one, so this schedule here would be in the Excel format for all of us?
Correct. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I guess no questions from the select board. I will go through and entertain motions from the finance committee. We'll start with maturing debt.
Steve, quick question before we jump in.
Is that Amy?
I'm trying to understand the change fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 21. It looks like it's the full amount from fiscal year. I'm just trying to understand what that column is and what the numbers mean. Because an $11 million decrease seems like a great thing in employee benefits, but I don't think that's what it means.
Right, that column, that last column changes when you make your recommendations. All right.
So Mike, so to clarify that, what that formula is doing is taking FY22 FinCom recommendation, comparing to FY22 town manager recommendation.
It will compare the FY22 FY21 approved, and then FY22, when you make your recommendations, it's going to show the difference between what was approved in FY21 and what you're recommending for FY22.
Okay. Hey, you good? You understand that one? You good with that?
Yeah, I just wasn't, all the numbers were negative and it seemed not right, but I get it now. Thank you. All right, so do you want me to make all of the motions and then can we vote on them in a big batch, or do we have to vote every line separately?
I think we'll just go down every line if you don't mind. So we'll do maturing debt 711, then the amounts, interest 750, the amounts.
All right, here we go. Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend for account 711 maturing debt, a budget total of $1,946,319.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for maturing debt, Department 711, in the amount of $1,946,319. Any other conversation, discussion at this point? Okay, hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 750, interest, I move that we recommend a budget of $520,028.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for interest, account 750, in the amount of $520,020. Any other discussion, conversation at this point? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
I am also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 910, employee benefits, I vote that we recommend a budget of $12,053,832.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve employee benefits, account 910, in the amount of $12,053,832. Any other conversation or discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Zach?
20% of the entire budget, 20% on employee benefits. That I don't, in the private sector, that would be insane. That is not a sustainable model. I understand there's contracts and unions, but 20% of the entire budget. I'm speechless.
Mike, do you have anything to, I won't say alleviate Zach's concern, but any conversation at this point?
No, nothing that I can say right now, nothing that can change that. We've got our personal services, the Bristol County Retirement, that's an assessment. The charges and expenditures that are the Medicare, and then the health insurance, so.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then for employee benefits.
We already did.
You have a
Sorry.
second.
I apologize, lost track.
No
Okay,
problem.
we'll go through the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes?
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
No.
And I am also a yes. So,
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just clarify one thing on that. Under the health insurance, I did have Catherine go back and relook at her numbers. And that is why you see my recommendation after she reviewed her numbers on the health insurance. The recommendation, 8,142,228 versus the original 8,337,228. So there was a recalculation on that.
okay. And just for a note, that was 7 for, 1 against. 1 was a no.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, there's not 8 of us here tonight.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's only 7 of us here tonight, so it must have been 6 for and 1 against.
Sorry, you're right. 6 and 1 against. Thank you.
We'll get it one of these days. It'll be fine.
We will. We'll get there.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
I move that for Department 911 unemployment compensation, we recommend a budget total of $90,000.
I have a motion and a second for unemployment compensation, Department 911, in the amount of $90,000. Any other conversation, discussion? Hearing none, go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes?
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That's unanimous. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
I move that for Department 940 miscellaneous, we recommend a budget total of $875,903.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for miscellaneous, account 940, in the amount of $875,903. Any other discussion and conversation? Okay, hearing none, I'll go. Sorry, Bill?
Yep. Fuel expense, is that for town vehicles?
That's for all town and school vehicles, yes.
And at what dollar amount per gallon was that guesstimated?
I can't tell you, we have an increment that we pay. We're part of Southeast Regional Services Group for our fuel. And there's an increment. I can't tell you off the top of my head what that is right now.
So, but if, you know, fuel goes up to $4 a gallon, then we're gonna be short, correct?
If it goes up, we'd be short. If it goes down, we'd have extra money. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for miscellaneous 940. Any other conversation? In the amount of $875,903, $875,903. Anyone else have discussions or would like a conversation on this line? Hearing none, go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Hector?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. It's unanimous. Okay?
Next one. The next is miscellaneous town offices. We're doing the big budgets tonight, so let's see. So the recommendation is for the Finance Committee, 131, a total of $2,415. Zoning Board of Appeals, 177, a total of 300. Tree Warden, a total of 2,000. And Memorial and Vets, 692, a total of 2,000.
Okay. All right, Jack, I don't know if you guys want to address from your perspective on these budgets?
I mean, from what I'm looking at, it appears that, Mike, your recommendations match the department asks, and these are all pretty minor, so.
Correct.
I don't have any questions on these. I don't know if anybody else does.
No. Okay.
All right, take it away, please.
I'll entertain a motion for each of these as we did last time.
Chairman,
Amy,
I move that we recommend for Department 131, the always fabulous Finance Committee, an annual budget of $2,415.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the Finance Committee, Department 131, in the amount of $2,415. Any discussion, conversation? Hearing none, I'll go to the motion. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr.
Zoning Board.
Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 177, the Zoning Board of Appeals, I move that we recommend a budget of $300.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve $300 for the Zoning Board of Appeals, account 177. Any other conversation, discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 294, the Tree Warden, I move that we recommend a budget of $2,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve $2,000 for the Tree Warden, Department 294. Any other discussion, conversation? Hearing none, go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 692, Memorial and Veterans Day, I move that we recommend a budget of $2,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve $2,000 for Department 692, Memorial and Vets Day. Any other conversation, discussion? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes, that's unanimous.
Okay, and last we have fixed general government expenses, and I'll put that up. And first is reserve fund, 132, 150,000. Legal services, 151, 80,000. Tax title foreclosure, 158, 30,000. Elections, 162, $21,225. Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development Agency, 176, that's $3,746. And printing of the town report, $2,200.
Hey, Mike, one question, just on elections, we have to vote each of those items, right? Personnel services and charges and
Yes,
proposed.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Jack, I don't know if you guys have anything to add here?
What do you say, guys? I think we all had a big turkey dinner. We're all very sleepy and not very chatty this week.
I was eating a piece of chocolate. I remember talking about this. I think the only thing that we had discussed specifically was the elections charges, and that there may be changes based on regulation, but that regulation we wouldn't know about until after the town meeting. So kind of a TBD, but to be aware.
Right, and the big reduction in that is this year we had 4 elections, so next year there is not that. They're reduced.
So I know that they did extend out mail-in voting, but what I don't know is how far out they extended it. Does it carry through for the rest of the year? Does it expire before November?
And I'm not sure on that, but I'll double check with.
My understanding is to year's end, isn't it, Mike?
But the calendar year or the fiscal year?
To my understanding, it's the calendar year.
Yeah. So we shouldn't have any elections in that meantime, in that time frame, right? All we'll have is the town election next year.
Only if the charter passes.
That
would be this year.
That's the charter would be this year in June, and the election, and we still would, I assume, have an April election next year.
So that would be FY22, which would be April 22.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a terrible politician and I don't know when state election cycles happen. So this being an odd year, or is there nothing in November? Unless there's a special state election?
Right.
Okay. Well, knowing that the April 20, well, no, I guess that 22, never mind, so we don't know. Okay, I'll shut up.
Oh, we might know, Jack, that the requirements change and we might know that there's an additional cost, but I think we would be able to bring that up in the October meeting.
Yeah, that's what
the
mandate expires on, call it December 31st, but the fiscal year is the end of June 22. So there's that 6-month gap where our election falls in, still in that void of not knowing what's going to happen. So I agree, let's kick that can.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, so we can go through these if we're ready.
All right, so just so I do this right on the first try, for the ones that have personnel services, I have to do them separately?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. What about this first one with the transfers and appropriations?
No, that would just be approving 150,000 for the reserve fund.
All right, that I can do. All right, we'll try it again. Mr. Chairman,
Amy,
I move that we recommend for Department 132, the reserve fund, a budget of $150,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for $150,000 for the FinCom Reserve Fund account or Department 132. Any other discussion, conversation? Call for a vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill? Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also yes, it's unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 151, Legal Services, I move that we recommend a budget of $80,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Legal Services, Department 151, in the amount of $80,000. Any discussion, conversation? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also yes, that's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 158, Tax Title Foreclosure, I move that we recommend a budget of $30,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for tax title foreclosures, Department 158, in the amount of $30,000. Any other conversation, discussion? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes, that's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 162, Elections, for Personnel Services, Account 510, I move that we recommend a budget of $670. For charges and expenditures, Account 570, I move that we recommend a budget of $20,555.
Second.
Okay, I heard a second. Okay, Aaron? All right, I have a motion and a second for Elections, Department 162, for personal services in the amount of $670, and for charges and expenditures, a total of $20,555, for a total of $21,225. Any other discussion, conversation? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill? Bill?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also yes, that's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Aaron?
I think there was a little delay on Bill there and his yes. I don't know if you recorded his yes as me, but I am also a yes. And
Yes, Bill, I got both of you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Aaron. I did see Bill's lips.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
for Department 176, Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development, I move that we recommend a budget of $3,746.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Southeast Regional Plan and Economic Development, or SERPID as it's well, in department or account 176 in the amount of $3,746. Any other discussion, conversation? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Finance Chair, may I ask a question?
Michael, go ahead.
I see us approving this, and I'm new to this process and your process on the Finance Committee. What happens if we get to the end here, you've approved all these and there's a deficit?
What we'd have to do, Mike, at that point is go through there and bring up some of these for reconsideration and vote accordingly. Allocating, may not be these specific accounts, but any accounts.
Okay, so this is normal process, then that's kind of a normal process?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Amy?
Where did my screen go? Here we go. Sorry. Last one. Mr. Chairman, I
Amy?
move that for Department 195, the town report, we recommend a budget of $2,200.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Department 195 Town Report in the amount of $2,200. Any other discussion, conversation? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes, so that's unanimous. Okay, Mike, units, looks like we got through the accounts you wanted to get through tonight.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, so I think at this point, I know I did send around the debt schedule. I know we haven't had a chance to look at it. I only just sent it around probably a half hour before our meeting. So there is something, I know that was a request that we had out there. And then our next.
Steve, can I interrupt?
Absolutely.
Well, wasn't there a page 2 to fix government expenses?
I don't see.
I have a page 2.
I don't have a page 2, Bill.
Bill's right.
Oh, Bill, come on.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill's on my list.
Bill's the type of guy that reminds the teacher she didn't assign homework before you leave for the long weekend.
Wah, wah.
All right, I take back everything I said. Well, let me clarify. So I know there was one question before we get back into these last few departments, but I did send the debt schedule around that was requested. So I know it's probably 5 or 6 tabs anyway, if not more. I know that was a request, so people can look at that one. If we have any questions, we can have a conversation next week on that one. Okay? Sorry, Amy.
All right, I'm ready if you're ready.
Blame Bill. Blame Bill.
All right, well, I found the paper, so let's do this. Mr. Chairman, for Department 199 postage, all departments, I move that we recommend $38,080.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Department 199, postage all departments in the amount of $38,080. Any other discussion, conversation? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill? Just give me a thumbs up, Bill.
Oh, I didn't hear my name. Yes.
Aaron? Must be me then. All this time it was me. Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, For Department 244, sealer of weights, I move that we recommend a budget of $2,200.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Department 244, sealer weights in the amount of $2,200. Any conversation, discussion? Hearing none, I'll go to the vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, for Department 425, street lighting, I move that we recommend a budget of $40,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Department 425, street lighting, the amount of $40,000. Any conversation, discussion? Hearing none, I'll go to the
What
vote.
was the $10,000 difference? Department 150?
That just after reviewing where we're at right now, in this year, we thought we could lower it $10,000.
And Mike Units, who is that, who's involved in that review?
In the street light,
Yeah.
it'd just be me reviewing, all the invoices for the year with, Jennifer.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Zach?
Mike, what do we, how much of this money is allocated for, now that we own the lights, for repair and maintenance?
About 15,000, their goal, when we had the plan done by the engineers, they said to hold at least 15,000 a year for any maintenance.
Have you got any requests so far from residents?
We have, yes.
And are those being dealt with one by one, or we just get a group of them and hire somebody?
Well, the work like on Route 123 now, we're waiting until everything's ready to go and move all the lights at once. But if someone has a light out, we don't wait. People don't like to see a street light not working while you're waiting for another one to fail. So we have to go right out and fix them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion, conversation? Okay, hearing none. I'll call for a vote. Ready, Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. That's unanimous.
All right, I think this is really the last one now. Mr. Chairman, for Department 438, Sanitary Landfill, I move that we recommend a budget of $8,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for Department 438, Sanitary Landfill, in the amount of $8,000. Any other conversation, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That's unanimous. Okay, I think at this point, that's all we really have. Bill, anything else?
No, not at the moment, unless you want a motion to adjourn.
That's gonna be my next statement. I was gonna.
How come Amy had to do all the other work and he gets to make that one?
The story of my life, Mike, the story of my life.
Mr. Chairman?
Kevin?
Yeah, can I make a motion to never discuss Bill's lips again?
So moved.
I'll second that on behalf of the select board.
All right, I do believe you have a motion. I didn't hear a second on adjourning.
Second.
I think I heard, was that Paul?
Paula.
Okay, from a finance committee perspective, I know we have a motion and a second to adjourn. I will go through and call a vote unless we have any other conversation or discussion at this point. Hearing none. Amy?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. Thank you guys very much.
All right,
Thank you.
that's our turn. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Motion and a second. Go to the roll. Meg?
yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
I too vote yes. Thanks for letting us hang out with you, Steve and company.
You guys.
Same time next week.
Excellent. Thank you guys.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,